was a motion that came up that was going to endorse and support licensing of body rub parlors and other things. And it was time to step forward and say, no, this shouldn't happen here in Winnipeg. And we've been working for some time with the mayor and with the councillors here in Winnipeg on not licensing the body rub parlors or other places like that. And it looks like, I mean, we won't know for sure until Wednesday, January 19th. I'm presenting again. We won't know for sure, but it looks like the councillors are on board to not license these places of business. And I'm telling you, Taylor, something very complicated and complex that took a number of months to deal with, of constant research, having survivors come out and talk about their experiences when they were forced into body rub parlors. And, you know, we'll know on January 19th, that's Wednesday, if we've been successful, but all the signals setting out to us right now show that we are.
Yeah.
So when is this interview going to be?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow. Well, I would ask all the audience out there to pray that the motion goes through not to license body rub parlors. Pray for me as I'm presenting on Wednesday, and pray for the city councilors and the mayor to make sure that they're on board to do this. You see, Taylor, what's so important is if we could succeed in making this happen through the grace of God, this would be a game changer in Canada. This has never been done before. And it's taken a lot of research, blood, sweat, and tears, personal contact with victims of human trafficking who have been victims of traffickers who've put them in body rub parlors. And this is a game changer, not only here in Manitoba, but in the city of Winnipeg, but all across our country. And that's the beginning of other things happening too, that can help victims of human trafficking and innocent young women and boys who fall prey to these predators. So, you know, it's a long journey, but this is a game changer if this happens on Wednesday. And we're saying it will happen in the name of Jesus, because this is for such a time as this. This is what's got to happen. Kids shouldn't be bought and sold in our country, Taylor.
Can we talk a little bit more, about, well, I think a lot of people, when they see like, oh, there's a license for that must mean it's safe. In your perspective, what are you actually hearing about these particular places?
Well, it's terrible. This is what human traffickers, there's a lot of young girls who have been beaten and who have been abused. They dare not say anything. The youngest one I pulled out the last time from a body rub parlor was 13 years of age. And I have to say the average age of entry into the sex trade in Canada is 12 to 14 years of age right now in our country. So we're talking about a real game changer here. And I have to applaud Scott Gillingham and now Sherry Rollins, who have taken the two counselors that have taken the lead in this, because they have really, especially Scott and I have worked right initially at the beginning and have worked together to make this happen. And so I applaud, the counselors, and I think everyone should really pay attention to the vote, who votes for it and who votes against it, because, the people are supposed to be representing their constituents. And the public have told me ever since the article came out in the Winnipeg Free Press last Thursday, I think it was, I've had so many emails supporting what I'm doing from Christians and non-Christians, from survivors and from families of survivors who've said, thank you for doing this. So, we really work very, very hard to protect our youth. And in our church communities, Taylor, we have a free Bible study that we give out for church communities to actually on a biblically based Bible study. Look at what human trafficking is and how it happens within our own Christian communities. It happens every day. So you see this kind of statement by the city of Winnipeg, and of course, in partnership with Scott Gillingham and Sherry Warallins and some of the other councillors, they've come to a place now that they've guaranteed us that it will be passed. So we'll see for sure on January 19th, because the other forces are working against us too, saying, oh, you're taking away my place of business. And, you know, these people who run these things, it's not business, it's violence against women. And it's human trafficking, and, you know, it's no good thing. Our city, if you license this, then everyone thinks it's a business. And as you said earlier, they think it's safe. It is not safe. It's very unsafe. So we have the numbers and the stories to prove that. And so after deliberation over many months, with the mayor and with the councillors, we're finally at the point this Wednesday where they will either eliminate the licensing of body rub parlors and facilities like that, escort services, or they won't. And it will depend on the councillors' vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel right now to see both some political support and public support for this?
It's really the grace of God for such a time as this. You know, how was it that I saw this motion originally that was going to really support these places? That was months ago. And it was the business, the emotion on businesses in Winnipeg. And I'm sure, you know, it was just the grace of God who showed me this motion. And immediately the alarms went off and I had to rally the troops. And I have to, you know, people like Diane Redsky, who is one of the Aboriginal leaders here in the province, has done tremendous work on it. Former Grand Chief Ron Evans, and there's lots of people that have done work on this, and the survivors themselves. I give them credit for coming forward and teaching the council what it's all about. And you know, as you know, the Joyce Smith Foundation has launched the National Human Trafficking Education Center. And Janet Campbell, who is my daughter, is now the CEO, and who's walked this journey with me since I was in Parliament. She knows all about it. And now, because of all this, we're able now, as a community all across Canada, to put a spotlight on this issue, not only here in Manitoba, but all across the country. So, you know, there's a lot of really good things that if we are successful on Wednesday of getting this bylaw eliminated, so there's no more licensing of body rub parlors, it'll be a game changer in all of Canada.
Have any other governments or municipalities reached out to you about this after hearing about it?
Well, they've reached out to me prior to this time for years. You know, Edmonton has reached out. There's places in BC, there's places in Saskatchewan, all across our country. There's body rub parlors. They used to call them massage parlors. In Manitoba, they've taken out the word massage parlors. In some provinces, they're all different. They're still there, but it's still the same thing. In our province now, we have places that are called wellness centers. But when you go in and see the lights and the stiletto high heels and we know what's going on there. And so, you know, this is going to be a game changer, because I have to applaud the city of Winnipeg in taking on this study. So we've provided much information and they wanted to learn more about it, and good for them. And that shows real leadership. So let's see on Wednesday if that leadership comes to fruition in eliminating the licensing of body rub parlors and escort services and places like that here in Winnipeg.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk about this with me and for all the work you're doing.
It's certainly my pleasure, and I would invite everyone to visit the National Human Trafficking Education Center. There's education, especially for parents and
Mm.
everybody else, about human trafficking and how it happens. And everything we put out is free. We always depend just on our private donors, and the grace of God to keep everything. God is the one that provides us with the funding that we need. And it's the hearts of people who are stirred when they hear, the work that's being done. But we have found that we're different from a lot of places because all our information is free. They don't have to pay for it. Just get that information to protect your home or your own families. And I must say, there's a lot of online learning during the pandemic. Human trafficking has increased since the pandemic. And, they can reach out anytime to the National Human Trafficking Education Center and get their education and find out what it's all about, just to protect their own families. And we also have the Christian response to human trafficking in Canada.
Mhm.
And that's going to be put up online now. And the
Okay.
churches that partner with it, we give that for free. And it's a 6-week Bible study. And the people in that particular Bible study are people who grew up in the Christian community. You have the trafficker who went to church every day as a child. You may have the victim who grew up in the most wonderful family and who attended church, evangelical churches, actually, all her life. And you have the John who grew up in a Christian family, and he serviced himself with sexual services. So, when we do that with the Bible study, we do it with a lot of grace, and any family member can watch it and learn. But the real strong part of that is it's very biblically based in what we're supposed to do to stop human trafficking, and as churches and church leaders to take the lead in making sure our churches, our congregations, our youth groups are safe.
Mm.
So I would invite that to happen too, because when you do things like we're doing right now to shut down the licensing of massage parlors and body rub parlors and escort services, it takes a church community to become educated about it, because most of them don't want to talk about it. It's a nasty, dark secret. So we've made our Bible study very gracious, and no one should ever be afraid. But the testimonies of how these people, the trafficker, the John, the victim, returned to their faith and renewed their spirits and are now working against all of this happening. It's a renewal. It's really a Christian testimony that is incredible. But they also learn how traffickers work, and this is the information that they need.